So these are my brutally honest thoughts for season 18 of Overwatch 2, and oh my god, there's bugs all over the place. Even now as we speak, two hotfixes later, there's still bugs in the game that are absolutely crazy, but I'm happy that they're on it. They're working at a pretty fast pace for once, and it's actually going pretty good. They're covering up some of the bugs that were absolutely atrocious. I think most of you guys know things like the Diva bug, the little Pharah bug, where apparently her barrage couldn't do splash damage anymore, and honestly, there's a plethora of things going on. So if you're interested in bugs, play Overwatch, you're gonna run into them. Speaking of bugs and things that are not working as they should, the servers have been constantly crashing. I cannot tell you the amount of games I've had that just go into a black screen. On the bottom left, I get told the server has, there's been an unexpected server error. The game just restarts and we're back at it again. It seems like it's happening a lot more in the stadium, quick play, and competitive modes than it's happening in the base game. Which, to be honest with you guys, I don't know what the hell is going on, because this was kind of happening near the end of last season. So I don't know if there's something going on with Stadium. I don't know. To those of you that are playing live a lot more than Stadium, do let me know. Is this happening in your normal games, in Quick Play and Ranked 5v5 or 6v6 as well? Because for me, I've been having a lot of that, and it's really concerning. And at least in our server, there's a lot of people complaining that this is just ruining their experience, right? So that's just the systematic perspective and everything. Now let's move on to reviewing the rest of the season, all the content and everything we got. So we got a lot that came into the game. We got all sorts of new perks. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Some of them are a little bit unexpected, some of them have been uncalled for. So let's get straight into it. I kind of want to talk about the ones that come straight onto my mind, and of course I know I'm primarily somebody that does talk about Genji a lot, so I'll talk about him first. Now Genji got one new perk and one adjustment to blade twisting. So swift cuts was his new perk, and that's basically quick melee reduces the cooldown of swift strike by 3 seconds. Now this one looks really good on paper, and I still think it's not that bad. It's just Dragon's Thirst is way too good, and swift cuts, it's like I predicted. I said in a video, I said if we are in a situation where you have control over the game and you've set the momentum and you don't want to lose the momentum and keep your own tempo going, swift cuts is going to be a really good perk. But swift cut, it's not worth picking when you are in a game where you are unable to set the tempo, unable to control the game the way you want to, and then you're just relying on Dragon Blade a lot more to make comeback plays. So I think then in that regard, Dragon's Thirst becomes more and more important for the character to function, right? So swift cuts is not that bad. It's just that in like more scenarios, Dragon's Thirst comes up a lot better, right? Moving on over to Genji's major, we have Blade Twisting, and that's that Swift Strike deals 25 additional damage over time if the enemy is below health. Now, if you're proccing your combos, you're landing your shurikens before engaging and things like that, this thing actually comes up quite a bit. I much like it now compared to its previous iteration, where I feel like I'm able to use it a lot more. I still kind of wish the damage was a little bit more. I wouldn't mind if it went up to 30. I think the 25 additional damage is really weak since it's damage over time and not necessarily burst damage, but I'll take what I can get. Sadly, I still think meditation is the better perk for a lot of reasons, and anybody that understands the current flow of the game, the higher up you go, meditation just becomes more and more compulsory. So that's why I'm on that. Moving on over to another perk for ADPS characters, Hanzo. Hanzo got the new one, Swift Lunge, and I'm not gonna lie guys, like when you're playing the maps like, Flashpoint, King of the Hill, Swift Lunge is actually coming up quite a bit, not only with the amount of rotations you need to do, but when you're landing any arrow, it doesn't matter which arrow you land, you're gonna reduce the cooldown by 1 second, and this can come up a lot, especially if, like, let's say there's a Winston that's diving you, you use one lunge to go back and he's committing to you, then you use Storm Arrow onto the Winston, you get another lunge and you can go back even further. There's a lot of potential to this perk, and I've really grown to like Sonic Disruption. I still think Sonic Disruption could always be something better, but I don't necessarily hate it anymore. But Swift Lunge is definitely a perk that I've been picking a lot more now, and I do really like, and I feel like it's honestly, it's really underrated. Then on the other side, the Dragon Fury getting a buff, so that's his attack speed, is really nice. And the scatter arrows is, as we predicted, was going to be useless. Anything that's a gimmick is going to be useless. Speaking of gimmicks, my favorite support character to play is Illari, but they kind of gutted her major perk. So as you guys know, they replaced an actual good major with a useless one, and this one's really weird to me because how did they not playtest this? So Solar Flare is Illari's new perk, and basically it's like this little heal fart that she does from her gun. onto the target in front of her, but it's like a really small cone. The gas that comes out the gun, or the whatever, the particles, whatever you want to call it, is so small, and it uses your current energy, right? So if you've been healing with Illari and you accidentally hit solar flare, you only do the amount of energy based healing number that you had left. So let's say you had about quote unquote 40 healing, then you're only gonna do the 40 healing burst. I understand what they were trying to go for with this perk, but I just think it's really poorly executed, and either they need to completely rework and gigabuff this perk for it to be even remotely good or viable, because as of right now, Sunburn is just the must pick and Solar Flare is an absolute joke. And honestly, that previous overfill perk was just so much better than Solar Flare, and I really don't like it, right? Speaking of travesties that are not really working out, Roadhog is possibly in the worst state he's ever been. Now, I know data is not, going to always tell us the full story, especially since the season just started, and I do believe the data is being corrected in real time, but at the moment, Roadhog is sitting at about a 30% win rate, give or take a few percentage marks in the higher elo side of the game. I'm not gonna lie, we know Roadhog is a bit of a nightmare of a disaster when it comes to balance, but I don't think any character needs to be sitting at 30%, guys. I think the balance team might need to reevaluate how they've kind of left Roadhog and revisit him, because I'm not gonna lie, that character's kind of dead, guys. Like, they've outright just taken Roadhog to the back and just chopped him up, so really sad to see. Characters that are definitely, they've gotten their power creep. Echo's perks are absolutely phenomenal. I've been enjoying them a lot. Pharah's new major is useless. Venture's new perks are just absurdly good that we saw coming. Sombra's perks are kind of underrated. I think Sombra's new perks actually help her in her neutral gameplay. I still would have opted for, more interesting styles of play, but it's not like it's bad. It's like, yeah, sure, we could take it. To nobody's surprise, Doomfist's new perks are nice and gives him more playstyle options. Reinhardt's new perks are like, they're alright. Winston's new barrier throw is so pathetic that it's almost like they forgot that Winston's a gorilla with like so much strength, and they just made him like toss that thing like 2 meters ahead of him. Which again, it's like, why would you ever take this? Like, there's just, I wish they would answer this question when they're making perks and even stadium powers, because we have a video on stadium coming up, been hyping it up for a while now. Is why should I take this perk? If a player cannot answer that question in their mind, in my opinion, you've kind of failed in implementing a perk, right? Because you should encourage, like for example, let's take Mercy. I'm a Mercy player. I do play Mercy from time to time, and I see the new perks, and I got Angelic Resurrection and I got Divine Momentum. Now, Angelic Resurrection might not be that bad in low elo because Mercy gains 100 overhealth after casting a res. However, the higher up you go, res becomes a problem and you can never cast it off, so it's not worth taking Angelic Resurrection. So Divine Momentum arguably begins to look like the better perk to take almost all of the time, simply because giving yourself 15% more travel speed after canceling Guardian Angel equals that you'll be able to survive better, especially if people are committing to diving to you and things like that. So that becomes a lot more of a, nuanced decision making, that okay, you know what, I'm gonna take this one's better, right? If I take another character, for example, who can I go for? Let's say I want to go for Pharah, right? So Pharah is another character that if you look at Drift Thrusters and Helix Shields, there's an active decision that can be made. It's like, well, Helix Shields will allow my neutral to give me a lot more benefit, or I can take Drift Thrusters where I'm relying on Barrage a lot more to make like a big, play and things like that. Then on the major side, you have fuel stores where, the jet dash giving you more fuel allows you to do a lot more sky shenanigans and, just, be able to maintain that airspace. However, the new major perk, Sky Spy, is an absolute atrocious failure, and Pharah was one of those characters that I actually believed that didn't need any perk reworks simply because all her perks were really good. If anything, Pharah was like the go-to design of, well, this is what good perks look like, and this is what we should be trying to do. So, of course, in natural Blizzard fashion, they looked at like one of her perks and decided, well, let's just give her something useless that will never ever come up, right? Sky Spy, again, I see what they were trying to go for. They just comboed it with the wrong ability. This is something you could have actually given just to her base passive kit, and we could have worked with it, right? There's so many examples, guys. There's goods, there's bads. I have a perk review video coming where I'm going to sit down, we're going to look at all the new perks, and we're going to rate all of them and how all of them are performing. However, looking at the rest of the game, the last thing I want to talk about is Stadium. I think Stadium's really cool. It's currently my favorite way to play Overwatch, but I think there's still a lot of things going wrong in that mode. That as somebody who's played a couple of MOBAs, and I really do enjoy MOBAs, I feel like Stadium is not necessarily understanding or addressing some small issues here and there. I have a more detailed video coming out to talk about this, but I spent almost 2 hours trying to brainstorm a Pharah build, and the frustration that I had with a particular Stadium issue began to arise so much to the point where I was like, you know, why is it that this is a problem in DPS and for some tanks, but it's not necessarily a problem in support? Now, a TLDR, if I want to give you guys a TLDR, is if you look at your screen right now, Brigitte is a great example of Stadium powers that actually complement the rest of her kit, can be comboed together to enhance one playstyle, or can be versatile enough to be shared across one another and comboed together, right? Brigitte to me is like an absolutely amazing addition to the game, because you can build her in any way, in any direction, in any form, and she's actually going to be good. Ability power, weapon power, survival, anything you want to do, you can definitely go down that route for Brigitte, right? But then let's say I head over for a character like Genji. Well, if you're trying to build into the deflect style of gameplay, it's just an absolute joke, right? His shuriken powers are also just a little bit underwhelming. They're not bad, but it's like it could have been a bit more transformative, and that's kind of the problem. The only real transformative gameplay experience in here is Dragon's Breath, if I'm being like 100% honest with you, and maybe Iado Strike, right? This problem begins to continue into the rest of DPS role, and if you look at Pharah as well, there's a little bit of that going on over there. Like I said, I'll talk about the problems with Stadium and things like that over there. However, honestly, when it comes down to the rest of Season 18, I have to give it a pretty solid 7.5 out of 10, because I still think the fact that there are so many bugs and a lot of them just, like, I don't understand how it went through quality assurance and they were like, yeah, no, ship this to live, we'll be fine. I think that's kind of inexcusable. Now, the rest of the stuff comes down to progression and comes down to, you know, pretty much like, let's be a little bit real. It's clear that Overwatch got inspired by Marvel Rivals' Lord system and things like that, and they wanted to replicate that in the game. Now, you know, and that's perfectly fine. Like, I do want that. I want Rivals to inspire Overwatch, and then I want Overwatch to inspire Rivals so that they can keep helping each other grow, become better games, and then we as consumers will always be the winners, right? I play both, so I'm a happy guy. I got 2 cakes. I got nothing to complain about, right? But I do have to say, the one thing that makes me upset about Overwatch, right? You see this border on your screen right now. You see this golden Genji border, right? You've actually spent hours and hours and hours earning this border and this like cute little hero, this portrait down here. You can see my mouse, right? What I don't understand is, why do I not get to see these anywhere in the game? Now, when you're in hero selection, you get to see it in hero selection, right? But the one thing that they didn't understand from Marvel Rivals is that Marvel Rivals lets you carry over your, you know, lowered icons, right? Now, let's say that's my Genji lowered icon. Hey, you can see my icon over here, right? It looks really cool. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool, you know. And there's that little what is this portrait thingy, right? Like the thingy. But when I select the character, you can see on the bottom left, it's just the normal border, right? So like down here, you can see my mouse again. It's just a normal border. And anybody that remembers in Overwatch 1, when we got new borders, when we leveled up our account, because it was account based and not character based, we were actually able to get those new borders and everything to be visible at the bottom of our screen. The fact that we don't have that being visible at all is honestly just a joke, because what was the point of earning all of that only to just hide it in the main game anyway? And even when you press tab, you can't see them. Now, somebody might be like, well, you know, they probably did it because they don't want people to get flamed. You're going to get flamed anyway, right? You're low level or whether you're high level, it does not matter. People will find a way to flame you anyway. This is why I still hate you know, private profiles. Now, Blizzard did find a way to alleviate the frustration with private profile, because you can at the very least see the 3 most played heroes for somebody, which I think is a great addition. And it could still be better, because we had something in Overwatch 1 where you could hover over somebody's profile and see their top 5 most played. Maybe they could expand that a little bit, or maybe show like the top 3 per role or something. Regardless, there's steps in the right direction, and then there's steps where it's like, oh, well, why didn't we, you know, account for that? Like, that should have been a thing. The new systems are really good. The Stadium rewards are really nice. The play like Luca challenges that give you 77 loot boxes are absolutely amazing. This is a pretty good season for Overwatch. It's definitely a lot more casual player focused, but honestly, these days I'm enjoying Overwatch in a casual way anyway. So thumbs up. Like I said, 7.5. The bugs are kind of ruining it. Some of the perks are a little bit here and there. And I just think it could have been a little bit better. They are working on it really fast, so I can always give them a thumbs up for that. But that's just my opinion on Season 18, everybody. What do you guys think? What do you like about this patch? What do you dislike about this patch? Which modes are you playing the most? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one.